Rick's not mad. So I've never been a guaranteed friend of any government. Rick's not mad. He's just different. Hello again, Talk City. Junior, come on. Oh, thank you very much. Do I have to apologize that I'm not wearing a Junior Creole shirt? I mean, I'd be a damn hypocrite, right? If you saw me coming out here in a Junior Creole shirt, madras. I mean, not that I have anything against it, but you know, I stand on those things. I'm 10 times, 100 times more interested in our history, in the people of the country knowing their history, in, the young kids in school reading their history by local authors, the young people of the country, even if they don't know about 1802 and they're not sure who discovered St. Lucia, although they, you know, some say Columbus, somebody say, if they're not sure that can be. But one thing young people should know is what has happened in their country in the last, let's say, 100 years. Every St. Lucian ought to be very familiar with what went on in St. Lucia over the last 100 years, last 50 years, last 60 years, last 30 years. Because that will explain a lot about why we are where we are, if we like it, if we don't like it, and possibly what we can do about it. But we don't teach history. What we want to do is force into our kids something called the culture. And depending on who you talk, you get different definitions and different examples and whatever about the culture. Or they talked last night, for example, I called, was it last night, Tuesday night? I called, that was Wednesday night. I called Timothy Paulion's show, Newsmaker Live, and I'm beginning to be Tim's main caller on 2 shows. But actually, I don't normally call Newsmaker Live. And he had a gentleman on there. You know his name? You remember his name, Junior? Mr. LaForce. Yeah, and Mr. LaForce was bemoaning the fact that young people en masse do not normally hold conversations in Creole. And, you know, he figured that Junior Creole will in some way contribute to changing that. And then you figure that Junior Creole has been going on since 1984, and less more people are not speaking Creole as a regular language. I mean, and he says in the rural areas. I always get nervous about that because I go to the rural areas, I have been in rural areas, and nobody has ever approached me speaking Creole. They speak English. Speak English. And when I used to go around, the only time I did, in '97, on Kenny Anthony's platform, them were the days. And I spoke on those platforms. Not one person ever came to me to say to me, Rick went Ballet Creole. That's about all I can manage. That wasn't bad, was it? Okay. Not one person, because I don't believe there is anybody in St. Lucia who does not understand English. I had all the phone calls to the talk shows. I never heard people talk Creole unless, of course, deliberately, because they think they're going to reach a certain group that understands Creole better than English. That's always funny because that's the assumption. These are people who normally speak English, but when they want to get the propaganda across, whether it should be or SLP, they determine to say it in Creole because then they think the people they want to understand will understand. So the presumption is there are some people, or maybe a significant number of people in St. Lucia who don't. I just got a note from Laura, who promises to get me into Madras. Thanks a lot, Laura, but no thanks. The presumption is that there are a significant number of St. Lucians who don't understand English. I think you're very wrong on that. And if those who think they may be right on that also ought to bear in mind millions, if not billions of dollars over the years that have been spent on educating St. Lucians and teaching them English, that in this day and age, you would have people in St. Lucia. I mean, how old? I mean, how many years is since 1984, Junior? You're the math guy. Look at that. How many years since 1984 to now?
16 and 18.
Eh?
32.
About 16 years?
32.
Eh?
32.
About 32 years. I ain't good in the math. So let us just take people of 32. Because, I mean, Junior Cross died in 1984, and long before 1984, we were spending money. We had schools. And you want to tell me 32 years later, people can't speak English? I'm just taking from the Junior Creole time. People can't speak English, and so they speak Creole. I don't believe any of that stuff. I don't believe any of it. But Junior Creole as a festival, have fun. I think it should be better organized. I think in its own way, the promotion of Junior Creole, as we promote it, underscores the mediocrity. Sorry about that, guys, but it's true. The way the Junior Creole is presented, the artifacts and all that kind of stuff, suggests mediocrity. Show business is what Junior Creole is about. Show business. You're putting on a festival. Any festival you put on has to be attractive and has to make the people who get involved, the young people, give them pride in what they're looking at. But in the first place, a lot of the food, although Laura told me that food tastes different, good try, Laura. The food, the saltfish, green fig and saltfish, when you cook it in that pot or you put it in that pot, it tastes different. I don't buy that. I know you, Laura. What Laura told me also was that I don't have I don't have St. Lucian taste. Maybe my palate is not St. Lucian. But Christian loves my wife loves saltfish. And how come she has taste? I'm not saying I don't love saltfish. Well, I don't love saltfish, but I'll have it once in a while. And green fig for me. I like sweet plantains and bananas. That's how I like it. But I looked at I see all the things exhibited and whatnot. And the food is the same food prepared basically the same way generally unless you go to a restaurant, special restaurant. Much of the things on display either are in use today, but how many years will it take before a real museum? I've been saying so ever since I started working here seriously, permanently. Why don't we have a museum and put all those things, what do you call the saw? I'll find out. What do you call a saw, Junior? Eh? What? I'm not hearing you clearly. The saw they use for big sawing the trees and the, eh? Of course you don't know. See, Junior doesn't know.
See.
But that saw they use for cutting trees down and getting planks out of the trees. I forget. I have a guest who I'll ask later on. Making boards out of those things. If those things are no longer in use, then put them in a museum. You know, a nice museum decorated with all the madras and the pictures of Cézanne and all the culture vultures, photographs of them, pictures of people, of the Arawaks and all that kind of. Put those things in a museum. But right now, Junior Creole, all the other fetes, one resembles the other. You just have more of this and more of that. At every fete, advertised in the advertisements of every fete, you have a line, there'll be lots of food and lots of drinks. Every one of them, the main feature, lots of food, lots of drinks. Where's the theater to have some serious Creole plays written by St. Lucians? Even when they're talking, promoting, they did a lot of promoting. I have to give them credit for that. A lot of promoting this time around. But all in English, most of them in English, not in Creole, because they can't talk the Creole. And that goes for you too, Laura. Okay, enough of that. You know, I want to make a small apology. I don't want to make my thing too long because I want to get to my guest. A small apology. A caller last week found in a very docile but deep voice, and he said, Rick, those letters you just read between Kenny Anthony and Teohakin of DSH, how come NBC doesn't have them? And how come Yardi and his friend, whoever it is, doesn't have them? And I took the question at face value, and I said, I don't know, you're going to have to ask them. Only after the show ended did I realize that the guy had put a rhetorical question to me. A rhetorical question is a question that answers itself. It doesn't need an answer. So the guy was in effect saying, how come these guys get every kind of document leaked to them? They get that, they get contracts, they get everything. And the most important documents, a number of letters that Kenny Anthony wrote privately to Teohakin, telling him everything is wonderful. Whatever he wants, he's going to get it. He just changed the wording. He doesn't want to go to Parliament because this is going to be a bad time to go to Parliament. Is there a bad time to go to Parliament with something to do with the country? Is there a good time and a bad time? And he said it was suicidal in an election year. Announced to the guy election time before St. Lucian's. The last email I have of that thing, that connection, was just several days before the elections, and they were sweetie, sweetie lovebirds. So it meant that what so many people suspected, that had Kenny Anthony won the election, everything would have been finished, and DSH would be, as they say, off to the races. Only after June 6th, in fact July 2016, did we first hear Kenny Anthony talk about DSH and Teohakin, and what he said turned the Teohakin into some kind of horned monster. So the guy asked me, how come these guys have every leaked document, but they didn't have a leak, nobody leaked to them these 2 or 3 all important emails. So I'm sorry I misunderstood your question, young man, and I took it like a regular question, but it was a very well put question. And speaking of Kenny Anthony and his letters, you know, a group in Vieux Fort that nobody ever heard of until after the elections. A lot of things happened after the elections, you know, things you never heard of before. DSH, and this one, something called the Vieux Fort Concerned Citizens Coalition for Change, VFCCCCC, etc., etc., that calls itself an apolitical group. It's not interested in politics. They were they were involved with the marches, and they were involved with the St. Jude protests, and they were involved with SLMDA things and whatever. And you know, the Labour Party if the Labour Party goes down there trying to talk about DSH, they would come there and upset things and whatnot, but insisted they were an apolitical group. They were not involved in politics. They were just citizens in doing their civic duty. Now it turns out that the group was formed by Kenny Anthony. Here we go again. The group was formed by Kenny Anthony in 2017 as an advocacy group. Politicians don't form advocacy groups that are not political. Anything a politician forms is political. What more do I have to tell you if I get to my guest? I'm just getting a note. The leader of that group was at the SLP convention just 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. So now they're showing that, you know, that's very bad, you know, because not that any St. Lucian is fooled, really, because we've had that for so long by now. It's like when that last group the Labour Party wants to say, that wasn't a Labour Party meeting. That was a meeting of things. And all the faces on that platform were regular Labour Party people. I don't have anything wrong with that, you know. Just don't mislead people. And you're not fooling them anyway because they know. When it comes to the National Trust, all of a sudden, the National Trust has a bunch of well-known Labour Party faces fronting for them. I mean, come on. St. Lucia is too small and it's too late in the day to fool people that anybody can be apolitical and say, you shouldn't be apolitical anyway. You should be interested in what's going on in the country, and what's important going on in the country is usually has a political background to it. So end of story on that. What else I want to tell you? Finally, as you travel around the country, the byways and the highways, have you ever come across a Rickwin Street? Rickwin Boulevard, maybe?
I don't know.
Rickwin Avenue? I mean, I've said it many, many times before. I don't care what color is involved, the political memes and all that crap. I don't care. If it's good, I'm going to say that's clever. If a Labour Party put it that and I think it's good, I'll say, hey, that's clever. That's good thinking. That's funny. That's satirical. Same thing with UWP. Same thing. And if it's crap, you know I'm going to say it's crap. That's crap. And people you think have a modicum of talent, it's almost as if they're hell-bent on proving to you they have no talent. They are one-trick ponies. One-trick ponies. Remember when I warned that sooner or later, when they were, you know, when you used to judge when the election is coming by people, by the Labour Party putting on the internet or wherever in the things certain body parts of mine. I'm getting nice. I don't want to go into that. They put my very interesting body part of mine. They'd flash that on. That would be the signal that the elections are coming on. They haven't done it lately. One-trick ponies. So now it's that I said, and you know what? I keep on challenging them, you know, that I said on this show that I would pull away my support for this government, which I am upfront with, no secrets, you know where I stand. My support, it doesn't mean cannot change if I have good reason to change it. I've also said that a million times. But I never said anywhere, and it would be stupid for me to say that if my road is not fixed, my road, on the road where I live, on the street where you live, there's a song. A number of other people live there. There is even a guest house there. People that come and deliver goods from town there. Taxis drop people off for one reason or another here. But it got to a stage where taxis wouldn't come there. By the way, I have never seen my representative in my area. My representative was at one point Robert Lewis. My representative at this time is Ernest Hilaire. And when Ernest Hilaire, who's a Labour Party guy, I don't have to tell you, was here last, we joked about that. I was joking about he doesn't visit. I'm just kidding. And I mentioned that 3 different administrations had lived and died. And my road, the road where I live, I keep saying my road, was getting worse and worse. And of course, it had particular ill impact on my not so hot lower back. But forgetting about me, there are a lot of, I said, other people live there, and there are businesses there, and there are maids who got transported up there. There's sick people who want a taxi. There are all kinds of things going on in the area. Every other road, and that's the part I almost forgot. While I was complaining like any other citizen about the horrific condition of my road, which cost me so many car problems, tires, bottom pans, whatever that is, etc., not to mention my back, etc., etc., and must have been doing it to other people as well. The other roads leading to it, great condition. Great condition. So that Rick Wayne, where Rick Wayne lives, we're going to screw him up and not fix his road. So you heard me a week or so ago, actually on TV, jocularly thank the minister in charge of road construction for finally fixing my road. I was joking. I mean, I'm not into that kind of, because it is the government's duty to fix roads. And this brings about some people to thinking it's a private road. So the only private road is where the little piece that I drive on, not the rest of it. In any event, we pay taxes. And before you determine a road is private, there are a lot of questions to be answered as to the privacy of that road. So I just want to tell those people, and they actually did a montage of me. I wish I could do that. Standing on the side of the road with my suit and everything else, admiring my road. You see, no talent. No talent. I mean, do you think of me standing by a roadside in a suit? You ever see me in a suit except for things like this or whatever? In my bag. And there's also the added suggestion that the farmer's road is not fixed, but Rick Wayne's road is fixed. Enough of that. I mean, that sounds so childish and ABCDarian. You had a word, nice word? ABCDarian. Childish. I won't bother with that. Instead, we get on to something a lot more serious. I introduce my guest. I know it was advertised that I would have another guest, but an emergency arose for him. So who better to have other questions I've got than one of my favorite ministers and one of the pincushion, well, the main pincushion of the Labour Party. If voodoo really worked, the amount of pins that have gone into his doll, he'd be dead. You know I'm talking about Guy Joseph. Welcome, Guy.
Thank you, Rick.
And I don't know, let me repeat. Whoever it is who decided finally, why did my road take so long anyway? Why did it take so long to fix my road? Because I had 3 administrations on that here. Labour Party and UWP.
I remember the first time when I was Minister for
Exactly.
Communications and Works. There was some discussion about it, but we never got around to doing it. And sometimes funding is a problem for the number of roads, because on several occasions I kept on saying that we will never be able to fix all roads in St. Lucia at any one time. But Rick, the road in the area, they really didn't have a road.
Exactly. There was no road there.
I mean,
I want to mention Frank Myers as well, because he was one of the guys calling and protesting. You know.
I mean, it's a fact that this road had never received any attention.
I don't know why, but just that little piece.
And there are several roads in St. Lucia in private developments that we have undertaken, and nobody should have to apologize for a road being fixed in St. Lucia. And I think more so, if anybody deserves their road to be fixed, it's in the area that you live. And
we pay taxes, we pay heavy taxes too, you know.
I will say something to you, Rick. Sometimes when we are in certain positions, and my wife can tell you about that, she always complains about our road because my road is never fixed. I was Minister of Communications and Works for 5 years. But you see the perception that if you fix the road, everybody will say, oh, why you fix your road? And so you keep yourself behind. But I will tell you what I did. When I was minister, the road going to the former Prime Minister's home, Dr. Kenny Anthony, I sent the pothole in crew there to make sure they fix the roads. And the poles on the street had no lights. And I felt that as a former Prime Minister residing in that area, that the road driving to his home should not be so dark. So I sent them and put some street, some lights on the streets.
And see what happens.
But you see, because we believe that if we do something that can be justified, that is legitimate, that is necessary, that there's some ulterior motive for doing it.
And saying things I never said, let him prove what I said. You know what's ironic? The Labour Party was quite miffed that a wall of Philip Pierre's property was fixed, and there was quite a fuss made. There was even a court case on that. You know, but they don't mind take the very thing that was being said about Philip Pierre that was offensive to Philip Pierre and them. They want to turn it on me, as if I'm the only guy.
I was minister at the time when that wall was built, but I mean, I can tell you a little about it.
I don't want to dwell too much on it. I have more.
No. But I sat down in Philip Pierre's living room and we had a chat about it. And he told me about the wall and what was happening.
You sat in Philip Pierre's living room?
Yes.
Oh?
And I said to him, Honorable Member, I don't think it's a good idea. And it's in thinking, the same line that I was explaining to you, that
how it look?
How
it going to look?
Yes, how it go look. But at the end of the day, it was done for a special program.
Yeah.
And you know the end result of it.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get on to some serious stuff. It's been a while since you've been here. One, are we due for a new Prime Minister in January?
Not that I'm aware of, Rick. We have one Prime Minister in St. Lucia. That's the Prime Minister elected by the people of St. Lucia in the person of Alan Chasney. All the talk about new Prime Ministers. I've heard several times that this government is not going to be around, and every time they shift the goalpost, okay, by this date and by the next date. What is interesting is there's a sitting of Parliament coming up on the 30th, and I was looking forward, Rick, to debating the no confidence motion. But apparently the Labour Party has cowered out of, because I didn't see it on the other paper that is circulated, the no confidence motion.
Maybe they're busy with other things.
Well, I believe that the no confidence motion gives the government an excellent opportunity, because I said that we have 11 hours. Well, 13 to be more precise, because depending on...
So it involves a debate. So had the motion been brought, if the motion is brought, it gives the ministers an opportunity to say why they support the Prime Minister.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Rick, I was looking forward, because that was going to be a debate dedicated, because the Labour Party would have to put forward a case as to why there should be a no confidence motion, why the government should not be where it is. And the government now would have the opportunity to respond and to say why there should be, why we should be in government. And I'm telling you, I'm more than prepared for that debate. And I'm looking forward to when it is going to happen. I would want that to be the only item on the agenda for that.
All right, the other one, so I can get down to business. Martinez Francois is taking the government, the Prime Minister to court. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, he's taking the Prime Minister to court to force him to appoint
oh yes, I heard about that.
To appoint a deputy speaker.
But it's not the job of the Prime Minister to appoint a deputy speaker.
And he has been given the first date in I think February 2019. That's the first date. I don't know how I'm going to get myself there, but that is a case I want to sit in and report on personally.
But Rick, I thought the Labour Party said so long ago that they were going to take the government to court.
Well, maybe Martinez is doing it for him. I don't know.
No.
But here's what I don't get. Oh, and also to get the court to interpret as soon as convenient. To the best of my knowledge, you ask the court to make a determination when there is, in fact, something that looks odd or it doesn't make sense, and so on and so on. It actually says that in interpretation. But I have never been able to understand what's the difficulty in understanding as soon as convenient. And especially when it is not based on one guy,
Yeah.
but it's based on the whole, as soon as it's convenient for the whole
The parliament. All 17 persons in the parliament.
So how would a case be brought against the prime minister to force him, as you know, to elect a deputy speaker?
This is a case that must be brought against the parliament. All 17 parliamentarians. It cannot be the prime minister. The prime minister is one elected member of the parliament who's the leader of government business.
Let me make a quick announcement here. Yeah, right. I don't know how, Talk City, how you are viewing the color of my jacket. My jacket is not yellow. So if your TV is showing it yellow, because on some of the monitors I'm looking at the jacket like yellow, not that I give a damn about wearing a yellow jacket, but I would not wear a yellow jacket because I don't think that's too cool. But I also don't want anybody to think, boy, Rick wearing a yellow jacket. UWP. Well, if you think that, then you better look at my tie as well. So I just want to get that across. Okay. Guy, everybody, it seems everybody's going quiet on the St. Jude Hospital, including the government.
Yes.
Talk to me.
We are at a very advanced stage now, and remember previously I said we were not making any announcements on St. Jude until we knew exactly what we were doing. And Rick, I will be the first to say on this program that we took longer than we should have to make that decision on St. Jude. We took longer because we felt that too much money had been expended on St. Jude to just discard or not try to maximize the use of the funds that had been expended on there. So it took us some time to get to the formula of being able to utilize what was there and what needed to be added. So as we speak now, during our negotiations in Taiwan, we were able to negotiate the balance of the money that is required to add the new wing to St. Jude and to merge it with the sections of the existing St. Jude that can be utilized.
Let me make sure I understand. The structure that you have there now that everybody thought you were going to demolish, is that what you mean by this? Is that what you're referring to?
No.
No.
We are putting an entirely new wing to cater.
A new wing to what?
To so presently.
To the what? To the controversial structure?
No, it's.
All right. Okay.
It's.
I'm not too familiar with the building. That's why.
Okay, so the way the building is, there are certain sections of it that can be used.
Ah, okay.
So the sections that can be used, we will use.
And
we're adding a new wing to make up for all the areas of deficiency in the existing facility.
And what's going to happen to the as it were, condemned or abandoned section?
There are other uses that it can be used for other than a hospital. Because the issue is the level at which the hospital was designed to function. The buildings do not meet the requirements. So as a result, we know where the problems are. We know the key problem areas. So that is what we are putting into the new wing and to merge it with the sections of the hospital that can be utilized.
Okay, so when do you anticipate work starting on that?
I believe some very preliminary work will begin next month, but we will be in full construction in January.
I asked last time Ernest Hiller was here, I said to him, forget the government's advisors or assessors. Forget guys, people, that's what I said. And forget your own assessors, you know, people who have their own contrary views. Forget that. As to whether that can be used, whether the work should continue on it. And I wanted to know, I still would like to know, how do you explain that the hospital was half complete when in 2014 the country was assured of a state-of-the-art hospital that would be the envy of the Caribbean? That means that whatever problems there were in the time of King or anybody else, that the government had rectified, surmounted, whatever it is, and were on the last lap home to deliver a hospital before the end of 2015. And actually they came out halfway 2016, right, June?
Yes.
So will St. Lucia ever know that? Haven't you conducted some investigation? Didn't you have something going on about that?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what is the answer to that?
Exactly which part you want the answer for?
Why it was not delivered as promised, and why?
But Rick, it could never have been delivered as promised.
Why?
The Labour Party knew they were deliberately misleading the people of St. Lucia.
But why would the Labour Party deliberately oversee a messed up facility and keep telling people that before the LTN they get a fantastic
I
hospital?
believe that may have contributed to the early call of the elections in 2016. Remember, the elections could have gone all the way into December.
No, it could have gone to February 2017, I think.
Yes. No, but that is if you went for the extra 90 days.
The last day.
But I'm just talking about if you went to the anniversary date, you had all the way end of November. What we inherited with St. Jude was a very clear case that the government knew that all the dates they were
But
given...
how can you prove that?
Because it's very simple. The hospital, through the St. Jude project, we had paid GE, that's General Electric, a company out of the US, almost about $6 million for equipment.
You mean the previous government?
Yes.
Yeah.
For equipment for the hospital. My engagement with them when we came in...
those, what do you call them for the diabetes thing?
X-ray machines,
Dialysis.
I'm not sure it has dialysis. It's more of the technical equipment like X-rays and MRIs and CT scans.
All right.
When I came in and I met with them, they said, okay, when you know the hospital is going to be completed, we need 3 months notice to produce the equipment for you. We need 3 months to install the equipment, and you need a certain period of dry run. So you're talking about by the time you give them the time period, the minimum time it would take to be able to use anything in the hospital is 6 months.
Okay, so let's say that's a screw-up calculation on their part. But I'm saying to you, when you say the government knew...
So Rick, but let me explain it.
Yeah.
So when they said by August, September, and when I came in on the 6th of June, that they had not given the directive to begin to produce the equipment, because these companies do not manufacture the equipment and leave it there. They only go based on the order.
Yeah,
so
but all that means is they know they knew they had not completed the hospital.
So, but they knew that they had no intentions of opening it at the dates they were given, because
I get you.
Because the basic requirements for opening it had not been met by them.
So what would have happened had Kenyatta won the elections? I guess he would have given a reason why he didn't. The hospital wasn't quite. I guess he could give a reason why.
It would have, if they were finishing the hospital as it was, it would have still taken them a good 2 years maybe to do so.
From the state it was then.
From the state that it was.
But if, as you say, it's so badly built, what would they have done? Continued?
Yeah, they would have continued with it as it is, and put the people in it, regardless of what happens. Because even now the outcry is, whether it's good or not, it's better than the stadium, so put the people there.
What is happening at the stadium?
Nothing much. We took off the roof, which was one of the threats that people had in relation to the weather patterns and how solid.
What is the situation now with the staff? Because there was some. I heard some complaints some months back.
Yes, there was the issue of the material. To my understanding, the material was sent to the U.S. for the lab to analyze it. And since the report came back, I didn't hear anybody fell sick again.
Did you ever inquire who were those people that we heard the SLMDA saying people had died and so on as a consequence of things at the stadium? Did you ever find out who those people were?
No, but what we did was we checked the records of the time periods that when people died. And what we found is that the death rate during the time of the Labour Party in office was higher than the time we were in office. So if that was an issue, it should have raised the red flag since then.
Somebody should have made some reports.
Rick,
I've
said this. When doctors would come, I believe that the state should be sued.
Yeah.
If anybody dies
in circumstances
at
like
any facility in a manner like this.
Yeah.
Because it cannot be that our healthcare facilities, where we are sending our loved ones, where we are taking them to be treated and to expect them to get better, and the health professionals in the country will say that, look here, people are dying because of the conditions that exist there. I want to know whether people are dying only because of the condition of the George Odlum Stadium. A person's dying because of the conditions at VH. How different is it? Or is it just a political agenda that is being driven?
Was being driven. I don't hear it much now.
Because it cannot be. And that is why I said, and I made some pronouncements, and I told them, when I watched the professionals, the doctors, I've never seen doctors behave in that manner. And I told them, if I fell sick, I would be scared to go to the hospital because I don't know what would...
As a matter of fact, a lot of doctors complained about that to me. That was a danger. It was interfering with the patient relationship, because, especially in polarized St. Lucia, doctors openly being political. Openly,
yes,
doctors have a right to be political, to be interested in politics. But when you openly behave like a partisan politician, you cause problems.
No, it was the extent to which the government was being attacked on a number of issues. Because I believe we need advocacy groups in St. Lucia. But it cannot be an advocacy group for one government against another. It must be an advocacy group on principle that we want to improve the health standards in St. Lucia, regardless of which government is in office.
Let me ask you this. Whatever insurance policy that the government is contemplating or that has been suggested, like Dr. King suggested as well, insurance policies depend on people paying premiums and stuff. People can only pay premiums on a regular basis for insurance if they are fully employed, if they are regularly employed in fairly lucrative positions. Huh?
Yeah.
So where is that money going to come from unless you have almost the whole workforce fairly at work in lucrative positions?
When we came in, remember there was a team that had been appointed by the Labour Party to facilitate the transition of from VH to OKEU, which was headed by Dr. King at the time. The proposal made to the Cabinet of Ministers was that
By
the team
headed by Dr. King.
Headed by Dr. King. And certain persons from the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health, we were looking at, because we were expecting, based on the University of the West Indies report, that you needed about $70 million to run the hospital, which means that there was a shortfall, a major shortfall from the present allocations to the Ministry of Health. And we were already running a deficit government then. That is why the Labour Party never finished the hospital to move into it. You know, when people tell me that the Labour Party would finish St. Jude, I want to stick a pin in here and say, Rick, the Labour Party had only two commitments on the OKEU, to finish the laundry and the cafeteria. And remember, the hospital was almost completed when we left office. We have just about finished the laundry now and the cafeteria at OKEU. So for the 5 years that Labour spent in office, they could not finish a cafeteria and a laundry. You think I have any hope that they could finish St. Jude? So going back to the question that you asked, the proposal that came to the government was to increase the NIC contributions by 5%, where the employee would contribute 2.5% and the employer would contribute the other 2.5%. Altogether, that would raise about $55 million. Our contention as a government was that you pump this additional $55 million into the health sector to just keep the hospital operational or to get it operational. But those who cannot afford the health care still cannot afford it. Those who cannot buy medication still cannot buy medication. So we are saying, if we are putting this, why not use that money and pay health insurance for those persons, everybody on the island? Give them a minimum coverage, whether it be 25,000, 50,000, 75, or 100,000 coverage per person per year. If you can give a St. Lucian $25,000 health coverage a year, he is maybe 50 times better off than where he is today as to what he can afford. Now, the insurance policy we were looking at is you'd have a base coverage that everybody, and government would pay for all the unemployed, the children, the vulnerable, the pensioners who are below a certain pension bracket. So the government would have, the state would have the responsibility to pay for all of these persons, so that everybody would be covered under this basic package. Those who can afford more can add a top-up to that. So if I want $100,000 coverage, then I would pay the difference to give me the 100,000. But everybody, every single St. Lucian would be covered under this mechanism. And the government we have already calculated, and we have fairly good idea of what it is going to cost. In order to be able to pay the health insurance for everybody, you cannot at the same time run the hospital under the same arrangements where it is...
Before we go there, like I said earlier, regardless of what insurance scheme, guy, it has to come... In fact, every time you say government will do this and government do that, you're talking about taxes.
Yes.
That means people will have to be taxed. Okay. The money essentially will have to come from the taxpayers.
So, but Rick, here's the most important point. If you open the hospital, you still have to tax the people.
That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is for people to pay taxes, they must be employed. They must be employed in reasonably well-paid jobs. Am I right?
Yes, so the 55 million was being raised from the present workforce, not the unemployed. So the government knows that we would have the responsibility as the state to meet for all the unemployed.
Okay. I get it. Now, let me tie this up with this. The government has had some, for the government, good news from the IMF about growth and projected growth. There's some nice things being said about CIP, etc. But as Kenny Anthony discovered some years back, when I think he talked about growth of 4 points, whatever it is, and people were saying, all this growth, it's not registering in our pockets. We don't have jobs. People are losing their jobs. People are closing their businesses. I remember that was the time JQ and M&C had problems and so on and so on. Are you hearing on the ground, I know you were one of those politicians to the ground, people expressing frustration that you're into your third year and not enough has happened to affect them job-wise and so on? Are you hearing those?
Yes, there
Why
is.
has it taken so long for something to happen in that regard? Go ahead.
It is always difficult when you inherit an unemployment situation. Unemployment was in the region of 25% when we came into government.
Let me interrupt you. I have offered, I believe, by the way, you don't convert labor to UWP, and you don't vice versa. Yeah. So when I'm talking on my show, I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm trying to talk to the reasonable mind, the open mind. And to them and your supporters, Because I made certain statements as soon as you want, the first show after your elections, that you'd be given certain amount of time and so on. And I went so far as to say, about 5 shows back, that a guy decides he wants to do a peanut farm or whatever farm. There is an area of land he's interested in. He buys it. It takes a while to buy it, one way or another.
Yeah.
It's covered with jungle. It takes a while to cut down and clear the land. It takes a while to prepare the land, maybe to fertilize it. Then you have to plant, and then you have to wait for the produce to start being available. So that gives you time, and that was my way of saying to your supporters that you are frustrated, because I too am frustrated, and I feel the same thing they feel. So we've given you all this time to clear the jungle. So when are we going to start getting some fruit? Talk to me.
So, Rick, the situation is one where, and it's not making excuses, I'm giving you the reality. Any new government coming in, it takes time to roll out projects. Now, from where I sit there, I am convinced, or I know for a fact, that the projects are coming. We have not seen any major...
Let me just interrupt that, because I'm sure your supporters will feel, as I feel, that we have heard for a while the projects are coming.
Yes.
So can you give us a kind of time frame? Not definite dates, because I know if you give me a definite date,
You will hold me to that date.
not only that, when that date comes, everybody will jump on you. But
Oh,
you
yes.
said so-and-so date.
Yes.
So give me a rough time frame.
And so I will give you an example. We went up to Taiwan to finalize the negotiations
I know
with the
the ladies.
Taiwanese on the issue of the loan for the airport and the
Allow me to
roadworks.
interrupt that because we're on live TV and I need to talk to Junior. So
Yes.
Junior, you're listening. Will you please come down and see me here? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. So we were able to negotiate the money for the airport and the roadworks. The government has committed itself to spending over $150 million on road repairs during the next 3 years. That is an average of $50 million a year on road maintenance, road repairs in general. So that is going to happen. The airport, the
It's
proposed,
going to happen
it is
around
going,
when?
I expect works to start on the roads before this year end.
Okay. That sounds familiar. Before the end of 2015.
No. That is not the Labour Party speaking,
All right.
Eric.
Okay.
The airport project, the funds were approved. I know we just spoke to the ambassador this
Taiwan.
afternoon, Taiwan ambassador.
Yeah.
We met with the president. And Rick, I need to stick a pin here and say,
Oh, take your time.
we have a prime minister who commands the respect internationally when he goes out there to represent St. Lucia. And I know that it's a fact when the good book says, the Bible. I know you have your own views, but I have mine.
No, it's all right. The book is all right.
It says a prophet is not without honor
And he's,
except in his own country.
home, yeah.
Our prime minister has gone out there and been able to negotiate to the point where the interest rate that we were offered initially, which is 1.5 plus LIBOR, which is a very good rate, it may come below 4%. After his negotiations with the president of Taiwan said, I will see what I can do to take it lower for you. We were also able to negotiate an extra $50 million to the added to the 150. That is to help capitalize the projects, and that's where the St. Jude money and monies for the police headquarters and some of the other projects that we are doing is coming on stream. The airport project, it was submitted to SLASPA's board. It was approved. It came to the cabinet. Cabinet approved of it. The location and everything. The plans have been done. Some of it has had DCA approval already because some of the same foundations that was done previously is what is being used. So I would expect that the airport project will also begin. I cannot tell you that they will be fully mobilized and underground before the end of year, because you know once you approach the month of December,
next month.
Exactly. It's difficult for people to mobilize and shut down after the 13th of December and to come back. So a lot of these projects, you may see them in full swing in the first quarter of 2019. So I am convinced that the projects that we have identified, and I'm not talking about private sector development project. You know that the Sandals project had started, other than the injunction that was put in.
Where is that
there.
now?
I believe that that's a matter that will go to court. That is delaying the project because that is almost a 200.
But I heard that there was in the air a possibility for a settlement.
We don't get the impression that there's going to be that settlement, but it's not a case. It's not a case against Sandals.
I know that.
It's a case against the government of St. Lucia, and that appears to be the method that is used to stall. I mean, take the prison case as an example. Basically, the National Trust withdrew the case, and there's some discussion about what can be preserved. I can tell you, I would love to have been able to present on your show tonight the renderings for this police headquarters.
I think we had it, and I showed it. I think I've shown it once.
It's an excellent facility. Rick, we were just doing a rough calculation. The old prison site is about just a little over 2 acres of land. And we did a rough estimate. Land in Castries is in excess of $500 a square foot. If we price very conservative, $350 a square foot for land at the prison site, you know how much the land came up to? $28 million. So that land that has been sitting there, doing nothing, generating nothing.
Not doing nothing. It was put to certain use, wasn't it?
Well, not the use that we would like as a nation. That is in value in excess of $28 million. Is just sitting there, generating nothing for the country. And some people are comfortable with this. It cannot be that we have assets. We always talk about you have to use. Successful people know how to use what they have to their advantage. Successful countries know how to leverage what they have. And we always talk about Singapore and what they've been able to do. What have they done? They have leveraged what they have, and they have used it in a manner to maximize what they can get out of it. And that is the direction. I will say boldly tonight that from since the days of Sir John, and Sir John ran a particular type of government because the world environment was conducive to what he was doing at the time. Today, the world is more volatile than. You look at what's happening between Japan and the US, the trade, the Mexico and the US, the Chinese and the US. You look at what is happening with the EU and with Brexit. Everybody is focusing on themselves. Everyone. Every country. So what we think we could depend on.
In the Creole, since it's Creole time, what we call?
In the days when we could have looked to our big brothers, as we call them.
And the mother country.
And the mother country. That does not exist anymore. You have to look into other areas and what you can do. And it is based on what you are doing for yourself. And kudos to the Prime Minister. Nobody expected that Alan Chasney would have been able to turn the economy around to the point that it has happened within that space of time.
But you know, well, I will stick up in there, because until St. Lucians can feel that turn, it's a political thing. Huh?
I agree with you. Yeah. These numbers don't mean a lot.
They mean a lot to the politicians to do that. But
no. I've always...
GDP and so on, yes. It's nice to be talking about GDP.
It is good because it builds confidence.
Yeah, that the direction you're going in is okay.
Exactly. You know when I will feel good, Rick?
When people are fully employed. I hope.
We will never get to the point where people are
fairly well employed.
Reasonably well employed. I will tell you there's a stat, and I don't pay too much attention to the statistics sometimes, because you can make numbers say whatever you want it to say. And people play with numbers for their own ends. I believe that when I can see every St. Lucian with health insurance, and when they fall sick, they can go. If I can accomplish just this one thing, and that there are proper health facilities, because you may have the insurance.
I want to sorry about that.
No problem.
That's the kind of show we have here. A Creole advocate is asking me to get it right. The proper thing is where put you. That's a Creole word. It's a Creole word. What can I tell you? Okay?
I cannot help you with
in other words, watch take care of your rear end.
Yeah.
Well, that's a Creole. The Creole for rear end is you. Okay.
I mean,
go ahead, Jack.
Just
a levity. Go ahead with what you were saying, more serious stuff.
So, I'm highlighting, Rick, that as a country, we must understand.
The health insurance, you say you want?
Yes.
That's when you be happy.
If we don't look out for ourselves, nobody will look out for us. And so, the measurements that we are using is not the measurement. You can have 6% growth. If you have 6 or 7% growth, you know what that means? we are just erasing running a deficit government. So you just neutralize everything. You are not that much better off.
That's right.
So growth numbers, without the corresponding
They serve their
impact,
purpose, but they're not putting that doesn't mean the
person who's hungry,
the people's living status has changed.
the poor people will
Not
still
poor
be
people,
hungry.
not just because you know there's this thing going on about what party is for the poor and what part of it, and I almost want to laugh, except that is a sick statement. St. Lucia is a poor country. Some people may be better off, but by and large, St. Lucia is a poor country, and it is stupid trying to have haves and have-nots. Most people in St. Lucia have not, and so I really wish we would stop saying the Malawi and the water. Everybody is in need in St. Lucia. So in other words, we are all Malawi, even though we pretend to be something else. Let me ask you before those things are coming quickly as we go along, and I'm thinking of time. What is this hullabaloo about the comprehensive school? I'm hearing, well, I think I may have seen it on the internet or somewhere, that a woman in New York during the Prime Minister's visit complained that she had heard that the government, the Prime Minister, the government was closing the school, I think, and it's a good prime real estate, and there's no reason why a school should be there, and so on and so on. What's the story there?
I don't know what the story is based on what the lady was saying, but Rick, the reality is people don't want to say certain things, even if they think it, for fear of the repercussions that it may bring. We are a country where more than 67% of our GDP is dependent on the tourism sector. Is a prime piece of land on a beach the best place to locate a school?
Let me give you a small history on that school. I forget the lady's name, and I was almost going to shoot myself, because I wrote so many stories at the time about it. John Compton met up with a couple in England. They were doing very well for themselves, and he persuaded them to come to St. Lucia to start a hotel. Those were early days of tourism. And they built a hotel near the beachcomber. I think it was called Beach something.
Beach Haven?
Beach Haven, yeah, something like that.
That's
And
where the Ectel office is now, in that building. Ectel office,
Ectel office is there?
Used to be there.
Oh,
Yeah.
so who owns that building now?
Government.
Government bought it?
I don't know if
I
they
guess
bought
they
it,
want-
but when I came in, government
Okay.
owned it. Yeah.
Well, those people, the business was doing well until the comprehensive school was built there. And with the noise and atmosphere of school kids in the yard and
Was it the comprehensive or the Sir Ira Simmons?
I mean, what's the school that's near there?
I think it's Sir Ira Simmons.
Tyra Simmons.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
The comprehensive would have been there before that hotel was there, to my recollection.
all right, okay. But that hotel, that school actually closed down that hotel.
Rick, I will say this here.
I guess all of that has to do with lack of zoning in the past.
That is true to an extent, but people must understand the conversions that take place. So if you look at the highway, what used to be dwelling houses have all of a sudden, all of them have converted into businesses. When you see a road pass along a certain area, you look at the Rodney Bay area as an example. You look at the housing development of Redry Park and Redry Orchard. How much of these places have been converted into business places, even if they were residential initially? Because when business opportunities come along, people try to capitalize on it. The state is in the same situation. We may have built something there at the time, and there was nothing else to happen there, so it looked like the best place to do it. But every day, countries convert what their real estate is into other things.
This hinges on the previous thing about the prison. I mean, every solution can have his private view about the prison. What is there at mess? Okay. Now, I cannot see all of a sudden people are developing a sense of culture and appreciation of colonial buildings and all those things. And even when you really sit down with them, it's just a matter of opinion, and the opinion usually is red or yellow. Really, that's what it is. Guy, I see my personal view, a very personal view of mine, is there's nothing about that structure there, I don't care what it is, that should stand in the way of development. That is my personal view. Of course, other citizens have their own views, etc., and I respect that. But I cannot see, you see the Central Library? I mean, kick holy hell if the government wanted to break that down and to put something else there. I think, if anything, that Central Library should be rejuvenated, give it, because it's a nice building, it's of a particular time, and etc., etc., etc. And plus, we could do with a modern library as well.
So, Rick, if I take my house today, and I get an opportunity to convert my house into a business that can generate millions of dollars for me, so I cannot use that money and go and build a house somewwer else to live. I don't believe there's any the opponents of that kind of thing. I don't believe they have any other thoughts in mind. I'm telling you honestly, than political convenience. If you go into Summersdale, Sunny Acres, Bizet, every one of these areas, most of the dwelling houses in these areas have been converted into businesses.
Let's shift next one. Young people. We talk a lot about young. Well, let's talk about the workforce period. We talk a lot about people being unemployed, and we talk about it takes so long.
Rick,
but you have to have.
Hoping you would not bring up that one.
You know where I'm going? That you have to have a level of workforce, and I want to tell you, that's a pain in the neck, really, and so the government, to my mind, has to turn its mind to creating what is needed in that regard. Work, the kind of work likely, or the kind of work you might chase, the kind of work you might want to bring to St. Lucia. Do we have the trained personnel to deal with what the world of work today? Because I want to remind you that as far back as Compton's time, when he talked about fly-by-night things about the bra, what do you call them? Putting the bra, the Korean time, bell fashions and so on.
Yeah.
Compton called that fly-by-night or something, etc. That we could not depend on that much longer. In his day, Von Lewis, in his time, Von Lewis in 95 said that St. Lucia's workforce was not up to doing what is considered menial work everywhere else. Menial work. St. Lucia's workforce was not that. Kenny Anthony, shortly before he left, I think he said 73.
Yeah, about
73% of the workforce
is ill-equipped,
cannot access available jobs for lack of education and training. So how do you get work into the country that we have the workers for? Let me take a call. Talk to me.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, good evening, Rick. I just wanted to let you know there's a serious
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, Rick.
Yeah?
I just wanted you to know that there's a serious echo. The sound is not the best. There's like an echo.
Oh,
So
God.
I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you very much,
because
caller.
the sound is not really good.
Junior?
Oh, which one? Which one?
Did you hear that? Well, he didn't say that. I guess, I don't know. He says he's not, but the audio is not very good. By the way, I'm not very good here either. So go ahead, guy. I hope other viewers, please let us know if you're hearing us clearly. Other viewers, let us know what's going on. You're going to WhatsApp me.
The reason, it's not because I don't want to deal with the question, Rick.
I hope you deal with it.
No, it's because of how bad the situation
Sorry.
is.
Hello? Hello?
Rick, I'm not hearing any echo. Everything is all right there.
Everything is all right with you?
Yes.
Thank you very much for
Now
that.
I want to ask tell Mr. Guy Joseph something.
Say that again?
I want to talk to Mr. Honorable Guy Joseph.
Go ahead. I wasn't thinking call yet, but go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Mr. Minister.
Hello.
I want to ask you, what are you all waiting for you all to do something in St. Jude's? I mean, it's true you all had all your investigations and whatever you all were doing. But, hello?
You just tuning into the show?
Yes, I'm just tuning in. I want to hear what
he has to... You know, we got to get out of that stuff. The show starts at 8:30, and if you know the show is on Thursday, 8:30.
Rick, it's okay. I tune in a little late, so I would just like to hear.
All right, I'll let you off the hook. Okay, let him answer you.
We need to know.
But the point is, he has said, but I'll let him say again. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, hang on.
Those of us who tune in late that didn't hear.
Okay, Carla, take it easy. Okay.
Past time.
Okay.
St. Jude's Hospital needs to be opened.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so St. Jude Hospital opening is going to take time, but work will begin at St. Jude. Some work will begin before year end, but the major construction activity will take place from January onward.
Okay. Where were we? You were going to...
I was talking about the workforce.
Was that Junior? All right. Talk to me.
Yes, Rick. Good night, and how are you doing?
Hi.
I understood that the comprehensive school will be relocated, and I want you to investigate about that because...
All right, the minister can answer you right now.
All right.
Why is everybody on that?
I don't... Because people get... The comprehensive school, no, the comprehensive school needs major repairs. It may need total reconstruction. Because remember, that's a building built by the country. But is it going to be
relocated?
If you are going to build a new school, can you build it? What happens during that time?
But
now,
why would there be a complaint about the location of the comprehensive school? Why do you think?
The issue is that if you look, lots of investors are looking to come into the country, and people want properties on the Caribbean seaside. Now people will get, and you'll hear a whole fiasco about this. The reality is that nobody has approached the government. Nobody has offered to do anything there. But the government is looking at, if you are going to build a new school today, would you build a new school on the same compound? That is the issue.
Is there a need for new schools now? I thought I heard that there are too many school buildings right now.
That is the other assessment that nobody wants to pay attention to, because when you look at the consolidation, so you take George Charles School and Marigo that was combined together, and the one school building is still not filled.
Yeah, I want to go back to about the workforce.
Rick, we have a major issue with the work, with
quality of
what people are coming out of school. And I can tell you, a basic thing like an interview, a graduate from a tertiary level institution in St. Lucia may not have the exposure of how to prepare for an interview.
Well, let's leave the school ones for now. What about the workforce as it is, the quality of that workforce? Talk to me.
Good night, Rick.
Hi.
Good night to Minister Joseph.
Good night.
Minister Joseph, the last time, sometime ago, I think sometime last year, you were on Newsmaker Live, Timothy Polian's program. And I called regarding the road on the Mon, that's by the St. Rose and Green Parade, they're going right up to the church. Okay? Therefore, then by this SDA church. Now, as far as I know, that is your constituency. Okay? That's your people. Right? And then up to now, that road is so bad. That road is extremely bad. Okay? And the overhanging trees. What I want you to tell me is, when are you going to, as the representative for that community, when are you going to give us some relief on fixing the road? I don't want you to tell me when it's going to be done.
Caller, but to me, I saw some potholing done on that road.
Nothing is done. They're fixing by Sir Arthur Lewis on that side. No. But the other side by Green Park goes along to the Seventh-day Church.
Today, which section of the road you talking about? Not from by the Adventist Church going back to Green Parrot?
Right.
But I'm telling you, the potholing started from the Mon Road, the highway, going into, and I can tell you, they've reached all close to the Pave Junction.
No. Listen to me. I live by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Okay, there's a little bus stop, like a little shanty there. That road that's taking you down when you go down to Pave there. That whole stretch that'll take you to the highway. That whole section, that road there, the back road, it is very bad, Minister. Bad. When I tell you bad, there's no other way to describe the road again. Okay, it's extremely bad. And I see they fix it all by Sir Arthur Lewis. I mean, it's years. My point is, you know, the people of St. Lucia or the people of that community voted for you. That's your constituency. Okay? Now, what that really irritates me about politicians, they keep saying the people, but they're not looking after the people. That's what bothers me, you know.
So if you listened to me earlier, you would have heard that I said that at no point in time would we be able to fix all the roads. But if you saw the road by Sir Arthur being done, the road by Belmar Lane has been done. These are roads on the Mon that I'm talking about. Not Belmar Lane, Lucille Lord Drive. You need to appreciate that there are some things that we can do right away. So the last 5 years, nothing was done on any of these roads. The same roads that I fixed when I left government in 2011, nothing more was done. I came back in, and the same way I left, all the roads in that area, they were still the same way when I came in. So the main road, coming from Sir Arthur, going all the way back to Caribel Batik, this road, all the potholing has been done there. The potholing has started from the area by the Governor General House, that road, coming into Green Parrot, the potholing has been done. The road needs complete resurfacing, but we are not ready to do the complete resurfacing of the road. So what we have done is we have done the potholing in the area to bring some relief to the residents.
Okay, thank you very much, caller.
Okay, all right.
Thank you very much. I just had a message here from a viewer. It says the company needs to be relocated, if for nothing else but for the safety of the students before and after school. At this time, it is chaotic and the children are at risk along the highway. And has to bear in mind the 4 children who were mowed down on the highway in Grosile, and they still have not even resolved that. Talk to me.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, Minister Guy.
Hello.
May you allow me to revert back to comprehensive school, please?
Yeah, by all means.
Years ago, for years, this school, there have been about 3 issues with this school. 1, it is too close to the highway.
Oh.
2, well, when it's too close, there is a noise problem as well as a pollution problem. And then we have a structural problem there, particularly with the roof. Okay? Now, several teachers there have gotten sick. A very close friend of mine died very young.
Wow.
She got cancer. Well, I don't know how she got it, but they attributed that to the.
Don't tell me there's asbestos in the school.
Okay.
No.
Caller?
So that school should be relocated.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
I want to go back to the work jobs and the workforce, because we have a lot of unemployed people now. Forget the schools for the moment. Oh, God. I really need to get that question answered. Talk to me.
Good night, Rick.
Hi.
The guy who called the country in the Green Parrot Road, the pole loading crew was there yesterday, and they reached all close to the Pave Junction.
So the guy just...
and that's the exact information that I give, Eric.
That guy is doing it in my eye. Why do these guys do that? Always have a motive, man. But anyway, it's good for it to come out and for people like you to call in and correct it. Now, thank you very much, caller. Mr. Minister.
Rick, I passed that this morning on the way to Governor General, so I know.
I'm through that. I'm talking about the workforce we have now. Oh, talk to me.
Yes, good night, good night.
Hi.
Good night.
Mr. Minister, are there any plans for the old Diamond?
Yes, there are some plans. I can tell you that as we speak, there's an investor who was interested. He had asked to give him some time to go in and assess the building. We have given him the permission, and he promised that in 30 days he would get back to us. That was done about a week and a half ago. He wants to do a full development with the facility. Government would put in their share into it, get office space from it to utilize, and then he would be opening, yes, a PPP arrangement to get the building completed and to put it into proper use.
Okay, thank you. Well,
thank you, caller. You didn't
you.
talk about the PPP and okay, how was that going?
We have not finalized anything on this PPP, Rick, because...
But do you really St. Lucia on its own can maintain that hospital?
We all know that St. Lucia on its own cannot maintain the hospital. Matnik is having problems
Talk
today.
to me. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, man, I was just on another show there, and I'm just watching how the lands that are around the comprehensive school, who they belong to. So I would like to ask the minister if you know who are the lands that is around this comprehensive school, and why they want to demolish it, and for what reason. It's for Tony Dibule and for Dunstan Dibule. That is their land. That
okay, I cut that guy off.
Yeah.
You're not calling for, you don't want to know anything. If you know the answer already, what are you calling for? Don't do that to my show, man. Ask a question and take your time.
Rick,
But who owns the land around that area anyway?
I would not know all the owners of the land.
That is why I asked you about this thing as well, because the word is Alan Chasney wants to buy. I mean, that is the propaganda you have to deal with. That's why I asked you about it.
Because everybody needs to understand that if you want to develop the country, there are certain decisions that you must make.
What the propaganda is that Alan Chasney or the Diboules or relations want to go into a real estate project there themselves. And that is the propaganda around.
But the Diboules have land in the areas. Have they developed it?
Oh, they have land in the area.
Have they developed the lands that they have? I know that with the GP group, that entire area opposite Renwick, you see that entire area that is cleared?
Somebody's saying the reason you don't want to get rid of the school is so Alan Chasney can buy them.
Because it is convenient to say that from a political perspective.
Yeah, but you need to, but you also need to allay fears or puncture the propaganda of that.
Rick, the issue is that nobody has come forward to say anything in relation
it would be
to
insane for Alan Chasney or any relative of his to close down the school and buy the property.
And I know
Talk to me.
And I know my Prime Minister will not make a decision like this.
Yep, go ahead, caller.
Well, I came in the news later, but it's just a question to your guest. Concerning something I heard on the news, Mr. Guy, concerning minibuses, some new routes you talk about, right? I can remember you spoke about some other routes.
Yes.
New routes. I can remember in 2009 when you were last in office, we came to you and then we formed a bus company, a Southern Association of Hired Buses. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to review that, go and check the files or whatever in 2009. Mm-hmm. And those same routes you are talking about, we formed a company and we applied for all those routes, a number of new routes, because you yourself said that to identify new routes we can get, and then we can form and we can report to you. Mm-hmm. So we did just that. So I wanted to go back to your files of 2009. And
I recall the discussions. Yes.
The Southern Association of Hired Buses Company, but the coordinator you had before this one frustrated that company, right, and caused everybody to run away from this. I think because this was not politics. There were no politics in that, and he assumed that there were politics. So he frustrated that that bus in fact there's an incorporation. So I wanted to go and recheck that, and then we're going to see that there was a company who.
No, you need to bring the proposal up because listen, but listen, anything we are doing, we make it public. So when I met with the Minibus Association and we highlighted the need to expand the routes, because what is happening to the transport sector, that is why everybody feel they need to own a car in St. Lucia, because there are certain inefficiencies within the public transport system. And I believe that over the years, from the establishment of that system, it has not grown sufficiently to meet the needs of the public transport sector.
This thing was based more in the south, more in the south, coming from social area, the different junctions.
Yeah, but what we propose is for the entire island.
Yeah, well, we form a company based on a section of the south, because I remember you sent us that. I wanted to check it over.
No, but you should know that public transport does not come through a company. The legislation is for it to come through associations, because that is what is legislated, that you have route associations. Bus companies are for the taxi sector, not for the minibus sector.
But what was said, Mr. Judge, that they said there's no more routes, right? No routes, right? I think the present president of the NCOPD said there's no more routes. So
no, but that is why we have looked at the areas of expansion. So we know that we cannot add buses to the existing routes because they are working on rotation.
Yeah, I understand. Not these routes. We're talking about new routes, junctions, number of junctions. Just check it out for yourself. 2009, the Southern Association of Hired Buses Incorporation. Check it out.
All right, caller. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I wanted an answer to asking, because it's, you know, how is the country going to move if its workforce cannot be unemployable?
Yeah, good night.
Talk to me. You have a lot of time to think and answer for that. Go ahead, caller.
I want to ask the minister.
Go ahead and ask it.
When are we going to get a bus terminal to alleviate the traffic congestion in the city? That has been on the books for 30 years. We need a bus terminal for the north.
Caller?
And yes.
I applaud you for saying that has been on the books for 30 years, okay?
Yes.
So it doesn't look like, you know, this is a new thing. 30 years. Good for you.
Minister, you have been a transport minister. I want that to be done before this term ends.
No, you're not. You have a problem with getting a bus terminal anywhere in the city because of the space constraints that we have.
You need to relocate.
Hold on. You want me? You asking me a question? You know where the proposal for the bus?
I can suggest where you can put them easily.
Where?
Darling Road, Darling, in the path behind the present grocery bus stand into Calvary Road for the northern areas.
Where you mean take out the gardens?
For the southern areas.
You mean take out the gardens?
No.
Well, we do have a gardens.
Will not be. Don't have to be touched.
Caller.
Between the pool and the dam.
Caller.
Yes.
You involved in that kind of work?
I know. I have.
No, I want to know if we're talking to an expert there or just a guy throwing ideas around.
I've been in that field, Rick.
Okay, all right. Okay, I just needed to know.
Yes, the minister knows.
The proposal for the bus terminal is in cul-de-sac. So you think anybody want to take a bus? It means that the people who are transporting people from the Mon and from Cicero and these places will have to take them further away from town to bring them to a bus terminal to take a shuttle to come into town. I mean, we have to be practical, and these are the issues that we need to deal with. Because when we say, and Rick highlighted it, because we never zone and we never plan long-term, so now we are boxed into a corner, and it is difficult to get out of it.
The whole country has been an unplanned fiasco.
An unplanned development.
Minister,
fiasco, I said.
Let me suggest something, Minister.
Yeah.
We are boxed in, so now we have to do some relocation of residential areas.
Caller.
You see the Fulasho area?
Yeah.
I would relocate some people in the immediate across the
Caller, let me come in. Let me come in there, caller. Caller, can you hear me, pal?
Yes.
You know all those suggestions you have there, that you would relocate people and all that? You know all those are go-pitons that you have to fly? All right. I mean, it's cool to say what you think should be done. The minister and I and you know,
it has to be done.
The minute you start talking, Caller, the minute you start talking about relocating people, it becomes a political football. You know that, right?
I know that.
Okay.
And Rick,
thanks for calling, caller. Thank you.
That is why there must be
Caller,
a clear...
before you go to the work thing for me, you know, because you've settled that thing. It seems to me there is a major problem with a lot of unemployable people on the workforce because the available jobs, and Kenny Anthony wasn't wrong.
But that's a fact.
But the government is not saying that. No government has, you know, I believe...
No, the Prime Minister, the present Prime Minister has been talking about that, and what he gets...
He's not the only one.
He gets criticized for saying...
Yeah, but that's what he's there for.
He gets criticized for saying that, look here, we are not doing the right things in the education sector. Our people are not being trained. That
is another subject. I wanted to talk about the current workforce. But let me just take that call.
Rick, we have some good workers, but we have equally bad ones.
We'll come to that, I hope. Talk to me.
Hello, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Minister.
Hello.
Do you know the difference between a leader and a ruler? And if not, I am guaranteed that the electorate will teach you or will illustrate to you the difference between a leader and a ruler. You guys were elected to lead and not to rule. Thank you.
I don't know that we are ruling. I know that we are leading.
Talk to me.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen.
Hi.
Good evening.
I have a suggestion for that bus terminal because there have been talks about breaking down the old CDCs. How about taking out, demolishing the old CDCs on Jeremy Street, that whole block there, the two CDCs between that separate...
I would expect an injunction from the National Trust.
I mean, that could be a suggestion.
At
the end of the day, you need to involve people
I know that's for the minister, but let me just throw my thing in there. And what do you do if... I'm not saying you know no or yes, but I'm saying, did you also envisage in your plan what you do with the people who are living in the CDC now?
So, Rick,
at the end of the day, I mean...
Can I just say to you, caller? I agree with you for the knocking down of the CDCs, and I expect these CDCs to be knocked down before the end of my term in office.
Exactly, and that's the reason why I made that suggestion, because I know
let me just say
about that.
The government is in negotiations to purchase the 16.5 acres of land at Mount Pleasant, where we are going to build some new facilities, housing facilities, so that we can move the people who are within the CDCs into that area, so we can knock down these CDCs and do some renewal within the city.
What's your answer? For the bus terminal.
I am not sure that is a bus terminal you're going to put in the middle there. I'm just saying that we have plans.
What I'm anticipating, I've got a little levity here. What I'm anticipating is the minute the government says it's going to do that, you're going to see, you're going to hear how much we come from about relocating people, and you don't care about people.
I've been saying something that people, how can you have the city as the cheapest place? How can you be getting a house, a 3-bedroom apartment in the capital of a country, going for $350, $400 a month, when in all the rural areas, the government is not doing justice to the real estate sector. If we want to do social housing, you do not do social housing in the middle of the city, because the money you need to generate from the city These are the funds that you need to improve your education system, your health system, and that is what nobody don't want to deal with in this country. You
don't talk about it more. Talk to me.
Yes, good evening, Rick.
Hi.
Good evening, Mr. Minister.
Good evening.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, this is the biggest problem that we have. We're not hearing anything from the government that entails a 15, 20, 25-year plan as to which directions they will be taking St. Lucia. Because at the end of the day, this piecemeal thing that's going on every 5 years, the opposition and the current government needs to sit down at the table and come together on some fundamental points. Education, the judiciary, and something. So there are three cornerstones that your guys need to come together at the table and say, well, this is where we're going for the next 20, 25, 30 years. Regardless of who comes in, these things need to be focused on and taken care of and moved in a direction. Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know of any area at any time that this kind of sit-down, united situation happened?
Yeah, there's one situation.
Which one is that?
When the proposed changes to the constitution, when they came together, kumbaya, and they put it in the garbage and it's been there.
I love you talk city callers, boy. You were waiting for that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where they can come together.
That was very, very good.
That
very
needs
good.
to be done, and unless we are not hearing that, then we're really not going anywhere, because that's what I want to hear from either of the parties.
But, caller, on a serious note, that is not going to happen, and I've talked about this so many times, because whether it's UWP or SLP in opposition, their job is to bring down whatever the government is trying to do. And they get the help of half the country in killing itself. You understand what I'm saying?
Where are we going to get with that, Rick?
The problem is, I said so 2 weeks ago, and I have decided the problem is not the politicians, and I'm referring to both the opposition and the government politicians. The problem is the people. The people will get the country they want by the things they endorse, by the things they don't endorse, etc. I mean, a guy just called there, I don't know how long you've been watching the show, and he was arguing with the minister that a particular road was in a particular state. And he argued against everything the minister said. Then another caller said the minister is correct about the road. Now, what is the point of that, caller?
Well, obviously the guy hasn't driven the road since yesterday.
So what is the motivation?
He said he lives there.
So, and he said he lived there. He's obviously lying. But that is, but that is what we do. That's what we do as a people. There's a word, Schadenfreude. It's a German word. It means when you get pleasure out of the distress of your friend. St. Lucia is overridden with Schadenfreude.
Okay.
Nobody's thinking of the country as a country. They're thinking only of elections. Both sides.
Well,
both sides.
Rick, I guess you must agree that we have to get away from that kind of thinking.
Or we die. That is why I've said before, what is going to happen in St. Lucia, the only thing that's going to happen in St. Lucia.
Okay, well, Rick, I'd like to put it to the minister.
Yeah.
If they're unable to get the two parties to sit down they themselves, since they're in office,
and
they
need
to come out with some kind of plan that shows that they want to do something that's going to take St. Lucia into the next 20, 25 years, and they need to have some kind of outline, because buying that, we're not going anywhere, and we're just wasting time.
Can I say to you that every government claims that they have that plan? So,
but we know we had no plan.
But
the country was built without a plan.
I am saying to you, I want to say to you that as a government, when we came in, we have a manifesto that becomes the policy position of the government. And if you look at what we have there for education, for healthcare, for the economy, everything is outlined. What we inherited, and we don't come and make excuses for what we inherited, we are building on what is there, and to take St. Lucia to transition the economy into something that is more worthwhile, something that is more resilient. Because what we have been doing is waiting to borrow from World Bank, from CDB, and it's loan upon loan. You take one loan to pay another loan. Nobody spoke about growing this economy sufficiently. When the Prime Minister came in, he said, for us to remain sustainable, we need to double the GDP of this country in 10 years. And that is what we are working towards. Every development plan, everything that we are attempting to do.
Mr. Minister, I will let you continue and I'll hang up, but I just want to say one thing before I leave. I want you, the party right now, or the government right now, needs to do a heck of a job on their PR. There should be some means, whether, especially on television and on radio, where plans that are on the way or whatever needs to be publicized for people to know, because making reference to the manifesto, I mean, how many people are actually going back to that manifesto? We need to keep the PR up to date as to the plans that are happening so that people are in the know as to where the government is going and what we want to do.
As a matter of fact, caller, let me just say something.
Before you hang up, caller, I want to say one thing to you. We missed the boat on Castries a long time ago in terms of the development. We missed it on Grosely because you see the nightmare of traffic that we have there. You see what is happening in Vieux-Fort today, and we're getting so much pushback because there is a master plan development for Vieux-Fort. That is, we are looking at the roadways, we are looking at the flow of traffic, we are looking at the airport terminal, we are looking at the cruise ship terminal, we are looking at the horse racing track and the DSH project and all of the other projects, the hotels that are coming in these areas, so that you have a much better layout of the landscape in Vieux-Fort as to how it is going to meet the needs of the next 30 to 40 years. That is.
Are you there, caller?
I'm there, but I'm saying, okay, well, that sounds really good, Mr. Minister,
and that is why, and permit me to say this.
Has not said so.
Yes, but permit me to say this to you quickly. That is why when everybody was pressurizing us, and politically, it would have been the politically smart thing to do, but not the right thing to do, was to finish the St. Jude as it was. And we were saying anything that is temporary becomes long-term. So if you want to develop Vieux-Fort to be what you want it to be, you cannot go and complete a makeshift hospital and say that is going to be your hospital for the next 30 or 40 years. You must put something that meets the needs of today. And we have gone against the best political push that they are giving us, because we could have just finished it. But we chose not to go that way and to do the right thing.
Thank you very much, caller.
Healthcare in the South.
Guy, let me say something to you. You know, as you're speaking, it's occurring to me. St. Lucia obviously was not built according to a plan. The growth city, the city, nowhere in St. Lucia was built according to a plan. Take, for example, the Rodney Bay thing we just talked. That just was added when tourism became something. That was supposed to be a residential area. That's why all those people built their homes there. It suddenly became the center of tourism.
Of commercial
You know how many people
activities.
died on the roads there because of before they got used to the traffic up there? I can't think of any part of St. Lucia that was actually planned. And I want to say this just before the caller. I want to say this as well. It would be very interesting if the government undertook to talk more about its plans. I'll tell you what would happen, although I would like to see that. But I'll tell you with the resistance you'd get right away, which is not to say you shouldn't do it or give out more information. But the immediate reaction would be, we don't want to hear what's going to happen 10 years from now, man. We want to hear what's happening now.
Now, that's what everybody
Well, that's the problem. Talk to me, caller.
Hello.
Hi.
Rick.
Go ahead, caller.
Rick, good night.
Can you hear?
I heard a caller call just now talking about you put there to lead or not to rule. Actually, who's more dictator ruler than Kenyatta? They do a pack of nonsense. Lisa or Seabed, Jafari, give guys position. The boy knows, do whatever you feel like. I'm talking about putting it to lead. He got to rule. He got to audacity to talk that nonsense.
Free country, free speech, caller. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, caller. Thank you. Guy, try it now for me. How is the government going to attack the serious problem of the current workforce and available work, the kind of work that is likely to come in? I mean, we can't just keep on
Rick, we have to convert the education system in St. Lucia to meet the needs and demands of the job market. People in St. Lucia do not want to pay attention to the... People think that computers will take their jobs. And what we have seen in every country is the more technology comes in, the more jobs that are created as a result of the technology. A new kind of job. Yeah. And that is when the Prime Minister said that, look here, our education system, he was not attacking the teachers. He was saying that we are not well equipped for the transition of the world economy, and that we need to reposition.
Who is responsible for that? Not the teachers?
No, the system.
Government policy.
The government policy.
I mean, a little while ago, I could not believe in this day and age, the education ministry I was putting out an excuse about books. They don't have books. They're late in their books. I mean, that's terrible.
But that is what we said. So when we said, instead of giving the people computers with nothing on it, because you have no curriculum, you have no content. Educational content is not available on. We are working on that presently, Rick. We are going into e-government, paperless government. We are working on collecting or recording content.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I want to ask Mr. Guy a question. Mr. Guy, when are we going to get our rebate money for the as Minister of Transport? I'm a bus driver. I want to know when you're going to get our rebate money.
At my last meeting with the National Council on Public Transport, I explained to them that it was going through the process and that this rebate would be received before the Christmas season.
For December?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, that's it, caller?
No, I still have some questions asked.
Yeah, well, hurry up because I'm way past my time.
Because, all right, what about the gas money you're collecting to fix the road? And somewhere upon Moshi side there, our roads are so bad. And every 2 months, they all come in and they all patching holes, and after 2 months again, you'll come back and patch more holes. So you mean that's the money you're collecting to fix the road? We're expecting to get better roads than. So
can I just explain to you, sir? Remember, we are collecting the money, but it is coming into small increments. So that is what we have done. We have gone to Taiwan, negotiated a loan with the Taiwanese government where the tax money from the fuel will be used to pay back that loan so we can get the lump sum so that we can come in and do major road repairs. Now, to bring all the roads up to the standard that is required in St. Lucia, you're talking about over $1 billion of investment. We are now talking about we are going to spend in the region of 200 to 300 million EC dollars on the roads. So I do not want to raise false expectations of persons that all of a sudden every single road will be done. But all the major road network and as many of the secondary roads will be attended to based on the resources allocation for each area.
All right.
Thank you very much, caller. Junior, you want to put that picture on for me? I was talking about roads named after me, but and somebody just sent me a picture. You wanna bring that a little closer? Can you do that? Now, sponsored by Caribbean Metals Limited. Isn't that a Chasney company? No, not anymore.
I know the Chasney should have shares in there.
And Ernest Hiller Drive. Is that Drive or Doctor? And that, is that Ernest Hiller Doctor or Ernest? Is Drive? Okay. Doctor, Ernest Hiller Doctor. So that must be a little hospital there. But I think it's ironic.
I'm so
confused. Mr. Minister,
so Rick, your road will have to be named after you.
I mean, it's, by the way, who determines the names of these roads? What roads will have what name?
Usually that's supposed to go through some process of community. If a community wants to name a road, then.
So is there established committees? Are there established committees for that?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, that is a project that I've attempted to undertake in my constituency.
So if I wanted to put up a big sign and saying Rickman Avenue on my road.
No. I don't think you can just name that avenue. Your avenue. I think you have to go through a process.
I'm really happy to have you here, Guy, and to take the tough questions that people are asking. Very good. But for me, and again, I'm supposed to be a host, but I'm still the provocateur. It's not the PR that the government needs. The government needs more information going out, and I think repeated information going out over and over with that. I also think that the government, more government ministers need to come on shows like this. I can count on 3 fingers the ministers who normally come out. Okay? I can quite understand when people say they need more information. They call it more PR, but what they really need is more information. The matter of plans, I don't think planning has been synonymous with any government. And I'm not even sure it is possible to plan now without breaking down a lot of stuff too, because it's a small area. So I don't know how you can retain this and retain that and still have new things come up. That's almost an impossibility. And of course, the minute you start breaking down, all of a sudden we develop a new thing in culture and appreciation of architecture and all that kind of stuff. You still did not answer me the way, but maybe another time, because you always...
Rick, it is something that takes time to explain where the government wants to go. This is not something that you can give a one-line answer, because our problems, our education system remains what it was from as far back as I can remember. And
I told you about the 4 prime ministers, all of whom said the same thing.
The focus has been on passing exams rather than creating critical thinkers. So in other education systems, people try to create people who think. Here,
that's right.
It's about passing exams.
That's right.
And when you have these discussions, people tell you, oh, you think you're bright and you think you know things more. It's out there in the world.
Common sense is everything.
We need to create thinkers. And students in our system, when a student challenge a teacher's method of teaching or whatever, and we use a one-size-fits-all. So regardless of what your capacity is as a student, if you're in a class with a group of people and that is how the teacher teaches, you better get it. Or you are labeled in a particular way. We do not even assess our students adequately to know what their needs are. How do they learn best? Basic things that needs to be done. Now, I happen to be exposed to some of that because my wife's training is in this area. And we discuss a lot about these things and what is happening on the education side and what we should be doing as a country to reposition our workforce. Because a child leaves AFA, but does that mean that they are prepared for the workforce? What is the transition? Why wouldn't all of our students during the summer vacation, why wouldn't they be taking summer jobs? Everybody wants to get paid to be trained. And employers cannot afford to pay to train people. People get paid, people pay to be trained. You pay to go to school to learn. So we need a different mindset in St. Lucia of volunteering, of going and get the exposure to business.
Why don't we hear that kind of talk in the House? Why don't we attack these serious problems and to talk like you're doing there right now?
Yeah, but Rick, it's what is brought up. I mean, you have to respond to what is there. I think we need a different forum where we can begin. Because that's why I believe Parliament should not just be about debates on bills and motions and things of that nature.
I'm late. I don't want to be rude, but Junior has to go home. I didn't get to Grindberg, and I didn't get to impacts, two very important things to me. And, I really wanted to talk about it. So
there's a lot I need to talk about what the government is doing and the Prime Minister's leadership and what he's doing and what he has been able to achieve.
Well, maybe week after next. You're going to be here in 2 weeks' time, maybe?
2 weeks? Yeah, I should be here in 2 weeks.
Well, if you are here, I certainly will like. Thank you, as usual. Always exciting having you on.
Always a pleasure being here.
Toxicity, I hope a lot of you got your questions answered. And if they were not answered, I will give you another opportunity as soon as possible again to talk to the minister. I hope to your colleague. Junior is saying to me as soon as it's convenient, but we have to get that established in court first. Yeah. What it means as soon as convenient. It's not bad, not bad. Talk City, if you don't know who you are, you're nobody. Remember that. Good night, Talk City. Rick's not mad. Rick's not mad. Rick Wayne? We talk some real crap, You don't have that clip from Philipia Jr.? Rick's not mad. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's just different. Different. I don't think you've ever heard me promise anybody a rose garden. Rick's not mad. Rick's not mad. That wouldn't be good for St. Louis.